This is a production of the Gold Arrow Podcast Network.
Hello, and welcome to the Gold Arrow Camp Podcast, a podcast for friends of Gold Arrow Camp. Throughout the year, we join you to bring your day some of what makes Gold Arrow special. Our goal is to help you have fun, make friends, and grow throughout the year, not just when you're at GAC. Since we can't get together in real life, we gather here around the virtual campfire. We have some of your favorite parts of morning assembly, like wows and joke of the day. We also have interviews with experienced campers and some of your favorite counselors. We think it's a lot of fun, and we're glad you're joining us here on the podcast. Today is episode 68, where we have a lengthy chat about all things wellness center, as well as some backpacking conversation with our good friend Chai. Chai has been around Gold Arrow for more than a decade at this point. She started her time as a young college student, a counselor who was a backpacker. Then she took some time away to finish school and a nursing program, and has recently come back as a nurse in our wellness center. This summer, she got to see camp through the eyes of her nieces for the first time, which was really fun. We had a really wonderful chat about healthcare at camp, as well as why she keeps coming back, and of course, the growth mindset. Here's my chat with Chai. Welcome to the podcast, Chai. Welcome aboard, Chai.
Thanks, Soy. Glad to be here.
It's so good to have you. This is going to be fun. I'm excited to talk to somebody from the Wellness Center. We don't do that very often.
Yeah, I'm excited to be part of the Wellness Center now. And I don't know if I was back a while ago. I was part of the backpacking team. So
I actually have on my list of questions for you to ask about that transition, but I don't want to get ahead of myself because I have a list, and I'd like to follow the list. I'm kidding.
All right. I'm down.
But we've already gotten ourselves too far in without me asking you to kind of introduce yourself. For people who might not know who you are, what you do for camp, who are you? What do you do for camp?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Chai. I'm one of the nurses in the Wellness Center at Gold Arrow Camp. I think next summer will be my 7th summer. 7th or 8th summer. Yeah.
I can confirm it will be next year will be your 8th summer.
Oh, see, look, you corrected
Look out.
me. I don't even know. Time flies by so fast. And you have so much fun that you forget how many years.
It's true.
Yeah. And yeah, did I answer that question all the way through?
So what do you do for camp now? We touched on it a little, but let's dive into the Wellness Center a little, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm a nurse there. So I come and I help with any, campers that have any medications, breakfast, lunch, dinner, bedtime, help hand out medications, vitamins. And then also if a camper's not feeling well or gets sick, we help take care of them. The Wellness Center is awesome. It's also been revamped. So it's kind of looks like a mini hospital, honestly, or like an awesome, high-tech urgent care.
I agree. We put a lot of effort into renovating the Wellness Center. It's more than doubled in size. It's got like a proper exam room and a treatment area, and it's really, honestly, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So you're a nurse, but obviously summer camp is only in the summer. So how does it work? Because I think a lot of parents, hopefully their kids never see you, right? Or maybe they've got meds, they see you at the med window. But I think a lot of parents are interested, what do our camp nurses, because you're only there for a week or two. How does that system work for nurses and doctors at camp?
Great question. So communication is super important. We have a really awesome system that several of the nurses have put a lot of input in, and every year we get better and better in terms of organization and making sure things run smoothly. But there are checklists. There's, we do similar to a hospital setting where you give a report. And so we do a handoff report to the next team. And so, for instance, if there's a monther, we'll hand off saying, hey, this month, especially if they've got medications or certain dietary restrictions, depending on their needs, we'll definitely pass that on to the next team that's coming on. We'll have a meeting, and we usually get to camp a day early, just so we get to know each other, go through all of our equipment, check expiration, so forth. So it's a pretty good system that's in place, so we can be prepared for the campers as well as the staff members. We also take care of all the staff at camp. And yeah, and then the parents also send us cards and information. We'll go through all the records and we'll make sure that we really get to know our campers and staff well. And sometimes that changes depending on, sometimes we'll learn like, okay, this one camper has, this medical condition or this medication. And then when they come to camp, the pink card that the parents fill out, it may be a little different.
Sure.
So you have to tailor that depending on what shows up at camp.
So obviously our doctors and nurses don't work for us year round, right? What you can speak to what you do the rest of the year, but like what kind of background do our wellness center staff come from, or what do they do the rest of the year?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a good chunk of nurses and doctors that come from UC Davis.
Sure.
And most of them work in the pediatric department or pediatric emergency or some form of pediatric field type work. And so what's great is a lot of the doctors that come to work at GAC, a lot of them are the head ER physicians right in the pediatric department on committees and boards. And so they're very much like up to date with the most recent, evidence-based practices, which is great for, bringing that to camp and something totally different and outpatient. So we get a big, a lot of pediatric nurses and doctors. And then there's a few of us. So for me, I work in the NICU, so with little itty bitty babies. But we do, depending on what's going on, sometimes we'll have to go to the pediatric ICU or the pediatric department. But usually our population is like 2 and under, so 2 years and under. But with my experience with, working at camp, and I love just being well-rounded. And so I've got other experiences elsewhere. And I'm actually changing my role this year. I'm doing a little bit less in the hospital and a little bit more in the community. So yeah, it's constantly changing. That's the best thing about nursing is you can, be in one, field for a long period of time or be in many different fields. And so, and I know other nurses come from different backgrounds of doing home health nursing to, more other fields.
Yeah, I know. I think one of the things that's always struck me about our nurses and doctors, who are kind of universally awesome, I think, is they have like this wide background. Like people, like you're coming from NICU, and some of them that you talked about are coming from like pediatrics, and some of them are coming from, we have some nurses with a trauma background and that kind of stuff. And the ability for you guys to kind of share that knowledge and those experiences, I'm always struck by like, oh my word, like I feel vastly underqualified to be working with kids every time I stroll in the wellness center. I'm like, oh yes, that's right. All of you people know everything. And I think the other thing that strikes me about the wellness center is some nurses have been with us for a long time, 10, 11, 12 years. And some nurses are new, but we don't have a situation where we have like 3 brand new nurses. We'll always have a nurse or 2 who have been with us for a while, and they know how things work and they know how camp operates. And then you can integrate new nurses in. And then as those older nurses, right, their kids kind of move on and get too old, well, the new nurses become the old nurses, and then new nurses come in. And so we have kind of this like cycle of institutional knowledge, even though our wellness center staff is only there for a week or 2 at a time.
Correct. Yeah. It's kind of, to get become part of the GAC family, which is amazing. And then you see newer families coming in, and it's really nice to see that cycle for sure.
Yeah. I think it's quite the change from the Manny Veazey era, where it was 2 nurses who were there for the whole summer and no doctor, and they called the wellness center the Hypochondriac Hotel. It was a different era in the 50s and 60s.
Sounds like it.
We have moved vastly into a modern era with a bunch of like incredibly up to date and educated people running the wellness center, and hopefully like the big thing you have to do is like pull out some splinters, right? And maybe look at a blister or 2.
Pulling out splinters or blisters and so forth.
Right. It's camp. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
All right. So that's enough about the wellness center. Let's talk about how you ended up at GAC and like kind of the GAC impact, because you were, as you mentioned earlier, a counselor. And then like once you got your nursing degree and you got a nursing job, suddenly you came back as a nurse. So how did you end up at GAC in the first place?
That's a great question. I was in my first year of college, and I was on the pre-med track. I made some different decisions, but I was told that I had to be in a lab for for a lot of my summers or doing internships. And I was like, what? I wanted to be outside all summer.
Right.
And I've always wanted to be a camp counselor. I wish I went to Gold Arrow Camp as a kid. I don't think my parents knew about it, but I went to another camp as a kid, and I'm like, I've always wanted to be a camp counselor. So I wanted to make that dream come true. And so I looked up, I think I honestly just Googled summer camp California.
Yes.
Gold Arrow came up first.
We do very well with search words, summer camp California.
Yeah, thank you. The ads and
Yes.
Google and keywords for sure. And yeah, I came about it and I was like, oh, this camp is awesome. And then I got to meet your lovely wife Bean, and she got an interview, and did that first summer, and that was fabulous. And I have a background in backpacking. I did some backpacking as early as I think 5th or 6th grade, which was also eye-opening. I came from Los Angeles, moved to Ojai, this like hippie town,
right,
where like everyone's outdoors, and I was like, what? And like rock, jumping from rock to or boulders with a backpack on. It was like major life-changing experiences. But so anyways, it became a backpacking instructor, which also has some healthcare is important to that. You have to be a wilderness first responder or have wilderness first aid certification. So that was, amazing experience and eye-opening. And so, and then became a backpacking instructor, loved it, loved my backpacking fam, and loved everything about Gold Arrow. The one thing I really love about Gold Arrow is that you practice what you preach, and you praise the kids, not for reaching their goals, but the efforts that they put in. And I think that is so important. And I've seen how kids have changed just by being there for a week or two, or even a month, or depending on how long they're there.
Yeah, no, wholeheartedly agree that one of the greatest philosophical things we have is praising effort. That growth mindset is a legitimate thing, and I think it's really, you've hit the nail on the head there. What would you say kind of long term as you've moved? So your experience with us kind of spans the back end of growing up, I suppose. It's like college into professionalism, whereas for our campers, like, we often cover the front end of growing up. What's the impact of Gold Arrow been on your life? I assume there has to have been some impact for you to keep coming back, even like using vacation days to come work at camp as a nurse. So
yeah. I feel like I'm coming home. Like, I feel like it's part of my family. It's part of my life. I feel really good when I'm up there. I mean, just also not only just the environment and the nature and being in the Sierras, but just the people and the culture, and, everyone gets really excited, and, it's just a lot of love and a lot of welcome.
Sure.
And so, and that's rare. I mean, I know it happens, but it's unique there. And so that's why I keep coming back. And in terms of my own, I want my kids to go there one day.
Sure.
And for the first time, I was able to bring my nieces this past summer, and they had the time of their life. And I guess when I got a text from my sister when they got home that they were crying, saying they wanted to go back. So, that was the first time they were away from their house.
Oh, good.
And they did really well. So, so just, I think all the above, I think it's changed me in terms of, like seeing how things can be different, when you're out in the woods versus in a controlled environment, in terms of healthcare. And, what's nice about also working there is, because of my experience of being a backpacker and also in the wellness center, you've been pretty flexible with me in terms of like, you want to go out and take some photos, or this one camper forgot to take his meds and it was really important, but he was already on big canoe. So I got to go in a skiff and hand deliver his medication to him. And he said, this is first class. And I said, it is first class. Only at Gold Arrow Camp do you get first class service.
First class med delivery. Yeah,
exactly.
Short a canoe. It's it would deliver anywhere. I think because I'm always very aware that our doctors and nurses and some other support people, like our camp parents, these are people who are taking vacation from work to come work for us. And I'm always cognizant that, like, that's a big deal. Like, when you take your vacation time, especially in fields where there's not a ton of it. And so I'm always appreciative that the people we have, that we've built an environment where people are like, I'll 100% give up my time off to come and we'll put this in like, to come work. But I think the place and the experience are such that the work doesn't feel like your normal work,
Correct. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, honestly, I'm tired when I leave. Like it's a full week
Yeah.
or two that you're there and you're up really early and you go to bed really late. However, when I leave, I feel, and talking about filling buckets, my bucket is filled.
Sure.
So, and that like lasts. And so it like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, so that I feel like that makes a big difference. And also, you know, depending on how much energy you have and priorities, like I still was able a couple times, you know, while I was there, I would get up really early and like go for a walk or
Oh, yeah.
try to go on the lake or, you know, so finding that balance, but just to see that, you know, the campers and staff and knowing that you're helping improve their camp experience is, yeah, definitely fills the bucket.
Excellent. Okay, so you talked about it because your nieces came for the first time, and we have a lot of campers who come for the first time. Everybody has to come for the first time sometime. What's one piece of advice you would have for campers who are coming to camp, and not just necessarily Gold Arrow, but like camp in general? They're coming for the first time. They're nervous. What advice would you have for them?
Ooh. Oh man. I mean, I want to tell them, you know, they're going to have the time of your life and just take it day by day. But yeah, I think less like thinking or worrying about what the future is going to hold and just trying to live in the moment and, you know, bringing the things that, you know, if there's a, you know, stuffed animal or your journal or something that is really close to you, bring it with you to camp so you can share your experience with your stuffed animal or write it in your journal. But, you know, it's nice just to have a break, whatever it is that's going on at home, whether it's school, family, chores, and just be at camp and just live it every day. And, you know, you've got good support at camp and highly trained professionals that can help you through if you're having a hard day or those, you know, the first day or two. But yeah, maybe I don't know.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, and one of the things you said was kind of like be present. And I think oftentimes what we see is like once a new camper stops worrying about what they're missing at home, right? Because fear of missing out's a real thing. And once you stop worrying about what's happening at home and embrace what's happening at camp and say, this is where I am and I'm going to make the most of this, there's a lot to be made there, a lot to get to made the most. So that's good advice.
Yeah. Also, I just remembered something that I don't know if this is helpful, but you're so busy at camp. Like there's so many fun activities and there's so many activities. I remember my nieces were telling me like, I've never done any of these things and let alone like, you know, throughout my whole entire life. And they just crunched it all in 2 weeks. And so you're just so exhausted that you fall asleep. You can't even think about all the stuff. But one thing my sister did that I thought was pretty funny was it was like an ad lib, or she sent a letter of all the things that they were missing. Like, you know, removing the cat litter or sweeping the floor. So, you know, for parents that want to send a fun letter to your kids, you can sort of say all the things, all the boring things that, you know, they're missing out at home. They're like, oh yeah, I'd rather be ziplining than cleaning the cat litter. Don't
worry about it. We'll do the dishes while you're away. I know you were concerned the dishes wouldn't get done, but while you're at camp, we'll take care of the dishes.
Exactly.
All right, Chai, it's time. The speed round. 5 questions we ask absolutely everybody who comes on the podcast. Chai, what's your favorite camp song?
Ooh, probably the Gold Arrow camp song.
People love it. People love Tawada, and I'm here for it. Yep. We have a great salad bar. What's your favorite item on the salad bar?
Ooh, good question. Olives?
Sure.
I love the olives.
Listen, and this year, I don't know if you were there, but by accident, Cisco brought us some Kalamata olives.
Ooh.
And you want to talk about a total game changer, kind of midway through the summer, get some new olives on the salad bar? It was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it goes with the Mediterranean feast that
yes, exact one. And you could do like those plus a little bit of artichoke heart plus some feta. Ooh. And I'm not saying it felt like I was in Greece, but it felt a little bit like I was in Greece. Around the campfire at night, mallows or popcorn?
Ooh, mallows for sure.
Okay, no hesitation. Favorite lip balm flavor?
I don't know. There's so many new ones, but give me a most recent.
Well, I don't know about most recent. I have the classics here on my desk. I've got Tiller Towards Tangerine. Wada Watermelon? Sure, love Wada Watermelon. And then
those are great.
Finally, Chai, what's your real name? Oh no! We're all out of time. We'll have to have you back on the show, and you can tell us your real name then. Chai, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Joy. This has been a pleasure. Super fun.
Joke of the cast, joke of the cast. 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 Joke of the cast.
What do you call a computer that sings? Adele. I love that one. And I love that you joined us on the Gold Arrow Camp podcast. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. If you've got friends who haven't been to camp, send them our way. Share the podcast with them. If you'd like to be on the podcast, simply send an email to staff@goldarrowcamp.com. We will do our very best to get you on the show. And that goes for staff members. It goes for alumni. It goes for current campers. It goes for camp parents. Basically, if you've ever been to camp and you want to talk about camp, set it up. We will get you on the podcast. Special thanks to today's guest, Chai, for coming on the show and sharing so much. Really appreciated that chat. As always, I'm Soy, and I'll save a marshmallow for you.